Hi guys, it's PowPow. Now, let's get into the video. So, you may have looked at the title. This is August Alsina's new album, The Product 3 State of Emergency. So, if you are a hardcore August Alsina fan, you have been waiting for this moment when he comes out with his next album. We've been patiently waiting, and the time is here. Now, let's get into this cover. I really do like that this cover is. It has so many different elements to it. Most covers are for vanity. That means just make me look pretty and put a good little light on my face. But he really put what like when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, this is just some little cartoon stuff. But when I really got into dissecting each part of this album cover, I realized there were so many deep hidden meanings in this video and so many deep things that we could just pick it apart and do an analysis. So let's get into it. So let's get into the bottom half. We're going to work our way around to the photo. So as we can see, there is a gun here to the left of the screen. Um, Now, it looks like an AK-47, some type of army rifle. As we know, August is no stranger to violence. He grew up in the streets of New Orleans as well as Houston. So I think this all goes back to his album, if you think about it. The State of Emergency. He wrote this and put this out in before we were in a state of emergency, before Corona, before COVID, and he he knew that our people, our young black men and women, were in a state of emergency. Crimes being committed against us, and there was no justice. Now, let's look at this skull that's right by his head. August Alsina is no stranger to death. Um, Losing his sister, his brother, losing his grandmother. He is no stranger to death. When he came up in New Orleans, surrounded by guns and death, in Houston. So, this skull represents those that we have lost. So, the skull symbolizes death, mortality, the unachievable nature of immortality. Everybody has their day. We will die. We will lose someone close to us. And many of us really love how real August is about his loss because we have all lost important people, whether your mom, your dad, your sister, and if it's been to gun violence or something in a sickness or illness in your family and cancer. Oh my God. Um, August is representing that with the skull. Even with his health, he is showing us that live your life, be happy, do what you want to do. And let's not forget, August loved Tupac, and Tupac also was like, hey, being a black male in this world in America is a state of emergency. And we all know how powerful that statement was coming from him. And it seems that August has taken on that. He wants to help his people. He has always stood up. He's always been wanted to be more in the community. But um, just like in the documentary, he really wants to help the people of New Orleans. Now let's pan out a little bit. Now we're going to take a look at the butterflies, the fireflies that are surrounding his head. In the animated one where he comes up out of the water, it's kind of like he's being baptized almost. He's baptizing himself because he comes up out of the water, kind of like he's fresh and new, ready for a new beginning, or he's been birthed again and he has a new chance at life. And we all know how close he's come to death. Um, so he's trying to free himself of those burdens and become new. So if you look at the fireflies, and if you can see in the very corner, um, you're right. You can see a caterpillar, and we see the butterflies. And so we see that he is really correlating um, the process of becoming a caterpillar to a butterfly. It's painful. It's a process. He's always talking about the journey, the process. You can't make progress. So here's a little closer look at the caterpillar in the corner on the right. So when a caterpillar starts the process, it goes through all the stages, the 4 stages with the chrysalis, and we're going to take it back to kindergarten when we were learning about the process. And then it turns into a beautiful butterfly. It is a metamorphosis. And the youngin that we used to know back when he started, like he said, he used to slap folks, but now he's more refined. Um, he's more controlled. He wants to take more control of his life and be a better person. Just like he's always telling us, "Oh, y'all don't want to see the old me. And if you don't want to see me better, then forget you." And he also, um, the fact that people are saying, "Oh, we want the old him, we want the old him," but the old him wasn't healthy. So, um, he is better. He's a butterfly, and he's taking all of the pain and trauma that he experienced growing up, and he's trying to make sense of it and understand and how those negative things play in his current life. So you need to take a deeper look and say, hey, this happened to me, but I'm going to be better. Um, this occurred in my life, but I'm going to be better. I know why this happened. Hey, it sucks, but I'm going to make sure that that never happens to my kids, and I'm going to be a better example. And so that's what August is trying to do. Now, let's go to these fireflies. Now, I didn't think fireflies meant anything, but apparently they do. Usually in American movies, we see kids catching fireflies in the woods, and they're filled with wonderment, and it's magical when you catch a firefly and you see them light up inside of the jar. Um, it's a pastime that we see a lot in movies, or if you're in the country, you probably have caught a lot of fireflies in your life. So it's about magic, a sense of childlike wonder. I also found something really interesting about fireflies. It says it wants to remind us that we're in the right place at the right time, which is essential to getting energized, and that we should let our brilliance radiate in this world. And it says, "Let your light shine." So I thought that was pretty cool. All right, so on the other side, we see another skull, and apply all of the things that I said about the skull on the right side to the one on the left. Now, if you really want to dig a little bit deeper, if you take a look, he's surrounded by death and these omens and these things, and we all are. Whether it's death, it's a relationship, it's these past traumas, it's this, it's that, it's things have a tendency to overwhelm us and back us into a corner. And when we are resilient and we push through those things, we come out better on the other side. I really wish that life wasn't full of pain and hurt and trauma. But unfortunately, as human beings, sometimes we have to experience these things through our journey. And there's two ways we can handle them. We can not, or we can face them head on. Um, but the thing is that sometimes those mistakes, those errors, those um, things sometimes teach us valuable lessons. And so now we have another, this is a handgun. Comment below if you can tell me the type. I thought the first one was like an AK-47 rifle or something like that. Comment below if you know what kind of guns these are. And as we know, violence, death, people being shot, and there's no answers. Um, Children who are bystanders, people who have nothing to do with an altercation being shot or being hurt in our communities. This also is pertinent to what we're going through with the Black Lives Matters movement, police brutality, people being slain by people who look just like us and by the police. Um, this issue is so deeply rooted. And the fact that many people do not receive justice. We still have cases that are not solved. We don't know who committed these crimes, and they seem to be cold cases. Um, or if an officer commits a crime, there's no justice. So that's why August's music from the product one, the product two, going into testimony, into this thing called life, all of his music is timeless. I mean, you could play something from way back mixtape days and it is still relevant. And that's why I love his music. It isn't dated. Um it isn't something that we could just, oh, that was cool for back in the day. His music is still relevant and has such a honesty that many people don't have. They like to sugarcoat it and talk about the same thing going out. I mean, it's only so many songs you can talk about going out looking good. I mean, I like those songs too. Sometimes I don't want to go that deep, but sometimes someone needs to tell the truth and speak up and try to heal, and we can work through these things together. In August, on his new album, he comments that he's in a pair of Giuseppe's that nobody wants. Yes, he's handsome, he's talented, he can sing, he has money, he has Range Rovers. But at the end of the day, a lot of celebrities are not happy. I mean, how many people do we know that have committed suicide, they have just jacked up lives just like regular folks? And sometimes, yes, money can help a lot of situations, but sometimes um money can magnify, more money, more problems, right? Money can magnify an issue. And some people are like, how could they be lonely when all these people love them? And that consequently happens. I mean, look at Michael Jackson, look at Britney Spears, look at all of these other people who have, um, Robin Williams. I mean, he's such a comedian. He seems so happy, but he committed suicide. I mean, it just doesn't add up. But just like in regular life, there are people who smile in our face and then they're gone the next day, and you're like, I had no idea. Um, so sometimes money can help a lot. Now, don't get me wrong, but money can't solve the hurt and pain, and especially if you face trauma in your childhood, if your mom or your dad didn't meet um, the requirements or thoughts that things that you thought they should have been doing for you. They can only do as much as they were given, and sometimes that takes a lot of guts to forgive your parents for their shortcomings. And when you look at how your parents were raised, if they were raised in poverty, if they had a hard life, if their parent was abusive, verbal or physically, um, that can cause a lot of issues and translate into how they raise you. That also, sometimes it's kind of interesting how people grew up with an abusive mother or father and then they turn around and do the same thing, which I find that odd because you would think that people wouldn't do, they'd be like, I would never do my kids like that. But it's just like with alcoholism, or drugs. The same thing that you hated about your parent, you may succumb to that. And what I like about August, he talks about generational curses, these things that these illnesses that run through our family that we don't receive proper medical care because sometimes we don't have access to medical care. A lot of people are dying from simple diabetes and things that people in the dominant culture don't face. They go to the doctor, they get it handled, they get their medication, and they go on about their business. But a lot of times I've seen people are dying from simple issues that they shouldn't be dying from, but that's because of poor access to health care. Now, this is the most important, one of the most important things from this album cover, and that is the third eye. Um, August wants us to open up our third eye. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all right now. If you've ever heard the phrase "ignorance is bliss," then you'll know what I mean. Sometimes it is better to be ignorant and not know, because when you know better, you do better, right? But sometimes it's hurt. It hurts. It physically hurts when you realize that maybe that family member, you got to cut them off, or you got to step away, or God, I hate to say this, but sometimes some people have to cut their mothers off or cut their fathers off because they're toxic to you. Um, and sometimes when you reach this level, um, it's it's enlightening, but it's also painful because you start to see how people move around you, and how people's negative energies affect you, or someone who's in your group who's um, hating on you, or um, they put down everything that you do. Now, the third eye refers to the gate that leads to the inner realm. Okay, this is a higher consciousness. This means that you are spiritual, that you have enlightenment, and you want to invoke. You have a deep personal, spiritual, or psychological connection. And you have to listen to this, because now the thing is, once you open that door and you start seeing, if you start watching people, their action, not just what they say, but their actions, and the the reasons behind the way they do things, and sometimes you may have to break ties with people. And honestly, some people are genuinely don't mean to hurt you. Sometimes hurt people, right? Sometimes they genuinely don't even know that they're being shady, or they're doing this to you, or they're some way hating on you. Sometimes you're going to have to love them from afar. And once this third eye is open, you cannot go back. um as we see, August is he's opened up a can of worms. I really, at first I didn't want the can of worms to the whole entanglement situation, but I wanted everybody to focus on his music and how amazing the product 3 was, and it was 27 songs, and he's telling it like it's just, he wrote this a long time ago, but how critical or important is it to this time and period. And I hated that everybody spun it and started talking about different things about his personal life and who he's sleeping with, when his album is amazing. He's come through so much, and he's so brave. It takes courage to face your problems and deal with them. Sometimes when you face your problems and you know, hey, I got this, triggers me, I don't like this, when I back away from you like this means this because I've been hurt like this in the past, or I don't like that, because sometimes it can help you have a better communication with your partner or people in your life if you know your triggers, if you know, oh, that's when I start swinging, and why do you start swinging? What is the reasoning behind that? Once that third eye opens, it's no going back. And it is not all rainbows and unicorns. Sometimes it's really difficult when you have to take a step back from some toxic people in your life, and sometimes that has to happen. Now, I saved this for last because um, we, as fans, we all know that August knows God, he loves God, and he has mentioned him at every turn that he possibly could. And without God, August would not be here today, because he has given August the strength to overcome his depression, his everything, to get through all of the traumas and things that he has faced, and the death and everything. Without him, we would not have, without God, August would not be here. And August does know God and acknowledges him any chance that he can, because he knows that he owes it, everything that he has, to God. And a lot of times we don't understand death. We don't understand why these bad things happen to us. All I do know is that he promised that he would help us through those hard times. Um, he never said the road would be easy. Let's make that clear. But he said he would always be there when you needed him. Now, when you look very closely, this is a crown of thorns. And who wore a crown of thorns? Jesus Christ. So, in our lives, we may feel that people are nailing us down, people are attacking us, hanging us on a cross. We may feel like a martyr at times. And I'm sure August has not. He has been the poster boy for everything that could go wrong in your life. Well, he's been the poster boy for everything that could go right, as well as everything that could go wrong. Um, and also, I want you guys to pay attention. Um, in Song Cry, he always has roses, and if we know anything about roses, is that roses are beautiful, but they also have thorns, and that kind of is like a parallel for August himself and life in general. It can be beautiful, but it has thorns. It can prick you and make you bleed, but it's also beautiful as well. um, a lot of imagery that August has, from Song Cry and on Forever and a Day, roses. And sometimes in a relationship, they're beautiful from the outside, but sometimes they have a couple of thorns. And just like um, August has a lot of imagery where, the saying, a rose can grow from the concrete. He has a couple of images where a rose is growing from the concrete. Um, that despite what's going on and what you've been through, you can still grow and be healthy and be prosperous and have a good life, even if you had a terrible start. Also, I'd like to comment on the state of, if you emerge and see, if you come out of that cocoon, that chrysalis, that stage, that last stage, and you emerge a butterfly, you can emerge and see with unfiltered, your eyes are uncovered, your third eye is open. And so I'm going to end it right here, but I do have some last minute things. Now, I want you guys to comment below, what do you think the significance or the symbolism is between the black liner under his eye, the line under his eye, and the white line under its eye? Is I have some thoughts, but I want you guys to comment below and let me know. And also, another bonus thing, those three birds up there in that corner, those three birds right here, what do you think they symbolize and what they mean? Go ahead and comment below. My next video, part 2, will be the backside of his CD and talking about what all of the symbol, like all the things, what does it mean on the backside of his cover, and how he chose to display the backside of the album cover. So comment below, tell me your theories of what you think those things mean, and we'll discuss in the next video. Thank you guys for listening so much. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.